Silence. That's the one thing every night guard learns to fear. You start the shift thinking quiet means safety. No alarms, no movement. Just another paycheck. But silence has a way of turning on you. It hides things. It listens. It waits. Tonight, you'll step inside 3 buildings where routine patrols turned into survival. A government site buried deep in the woods. A New Jersey office complex where footsteps echoed long after midnight, and a Toronto medical clinic that seemed alive in the dark. Each guard followed procedure. Each one stayed calm. Each one realized too late that something else was moving in the dark with them. These aren't campfire tales or ghost stories. They're reports, real accounts from the people who were there. People who went in alone and came out changed, because in the world of night security, it's never the noise that gets you. It's the moment everything goes quiet. Story 1, the contract in the woods. He'd been doing this long enough to know the rhythm of a building. 6 years on the job taught him that no 2 sites breathe the same way. Some hum with life even after hours. Some go cold the moment the lights shut off. But this one, this new government contract, it felt wrong before he even stepped inside. He wasn't supposed to be the one covering nights. He'd earned the right to choose his schedule. Seniority gave him that. 6 years, spotless record, top marks in training. He usually worked mornings or evenings. Nights were for rookies, but lately they couldn't keep anyone on the overnight shift. Guards came in, worked 1 weekend, and quit. No explanation, no complaint, just silence. The site manager tried to brush it off, said some people just weren't cut out for isolation. But that wasn't the full story. You don't lose 3 trained guards in 2 weeks without a reason. When his supervisor asked him to fill in, he hesitated. He needed the extra money, sure. The move to a new apartment wasn't cheap, but something about the way his supervisor asked felt off. Like he already knew he'd say yes. He took the shift. Friday through Sunday, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Solo coverage. No backup. The site itself was strange. A 6-story office building fenced in by 10-foot steel topped with barbed wire. It sat 3 miles down a single-access road, surrounded by dense forest. No neighboring structures, no houses, no cell service for miles. Just asphalt, floodlights, and black trees stretching to the horizon. By day, the building looked like any government property. Clean lines, reflective glass, controlled entry points. But at night it looked hollow. The kind of place that swallowed sound. The first 2 weekends went by quietly. Long hours, nothing but routine. He made his rounds, checked the cameras, filled out the reports. The silence became background noise. He even started to enjoy it. The peace, the solitude, the illusion of control. Then came the 3rd weekend. The forecast called for a storm, and by midnight, the sky had turned to black glass. Rain lashed against the windows. Wind rattled the fence. Lightning flared across the tree line, carving quick white shapes into the dark. He sat in the control room on the top floor, watching the monitors. Every hallway, every exit, every camera feed was clear. Nothing moved. The building felt dead. Around 2 a.m., the fatigue hit. He'd been staring at screens for too long. He thought about walking down to the vending machine, grab an energy drink, stretch his legs. But as he stood, lightning cracked again outside. For a split second, the trees lit up like a snapshot, and something moved. A figure, quick, deliberate. From one trunk to another, just beyond the fence. He froze. He leaned closer to the window, eyes scanning the dark. Another flash, nothing. Just rain and wind. He waited again. Still nothing. Probably shadows, he told himself. The storm playing tricks. He left the room, walked down the hall, and bought the drink. The metal can was cold in his hand. He downed it fast, feeling the rush of caffeine hit his chest. The hum of the vending machine filled the silence. Everything felt normal again, but when he stepped back into the control room, one of the monitors was dark. Feed 3, rear parking lot, offline. He frowned. That camera watched the exact section of fence he'd just seen movement near. He turned to the window. Through the blinds, he could see it, the camera swinging by its wires in the wind. It hadn't just shorted out. Something had knocked it loose. He logged the outage in the report. Camera malfunction. Possible storm damage. The line felt thin, like a lie he was telling himself. Still, protocol was protocol. He wrote it down, sat back, tried to focus on the monitors that still worked. Then the access alarm beeped. Not loud, but sharp enough to make his skin crawl. He turned to the screen that tracked entry points. The keypad at the rear service door, the same one near the broken camera, had just been used. The system showed a successful unlock. He blinked, waiting for it to update. Maybe it was an error, a false trigger. But then the light on the diagram turned green. Someone had keyed in the code. He checked the roster. No scheduled visitors, no after-hours maintenance, and no other guard on duty tonight. He was alone. His stomach tightened. He reached for the desk phone. Dead tone. He looked at his cell. No signal. He needed to move. Find service. Call it in. He stepped into the hallway, the hum of the monitors fading behind him. Each light above buzzed faintly, flickering with the power fluctuations. The storm was getting worse. He passed the elevators, the vending machine, the stairwell door, and then everything went black. The lights, the screens, the hum, gone. Only the sound of the wind remained. For a second, he didn't move. His pulse pounded in his ears. The backup generator should have kicked in immediately. It didn't. That meant it had been cut. Someone was inside. He turned toward the stairwell, drawing his flashlight. The beam sliced through the dark, trembling slightly in his hand. Every step felt heavier than the last. His boots hit concrete, echoing up the walls. The air was still thick, almost damp. He could smell dust and something else. Faint. Metallic. He reached the fourth-floor landing and stopped. Below him, a door creaked open. Slow. Careful. Footsteps followed. Heavy. Deliberate. Coming up. He went still, light off, back pressed against the wall. The sound grew louder, closer. Whoever it was wasn't rushing. They were steady, controlled, a predator's pace. His mind raced. The only people with access codes were employees and guards. No one else could get through that door. So either someone inside had turned, or something else had learned the code. He looked up the stairs. The roof hatch was above the 6th floor. If he could reach it, he could hide in the crawl space. Wait for dawn. He moved quickly but careful, keeping his flashlight low. His breathing was fast, shallow. Halfway up, the butt of his gun clipped the railing. The clang rang out like a bell. The footsteps stopped. Then came the sound he dreaded. Running. Heavy boots slamming concrete. Fast and hard, charging upward, he bolted. His flashlight shook wildly as he climbed. His chest burned. The stairwell echoed with noise. His own breath, the pounding below, the metallic ring of footsteps closing in. He reached the top floor, yanked the door open, and slammed it shut behind him. The metal crashed, echoing down the shaft. He sprinted toward the ladder at the end of the hall, the one leading to the roof hatch. His hands gripped the cold rungs. He climbed halfway up and stopped, pressing against the ceiling. Breath held. The stairwell door below opened. He could hear it. Slow steps moving into the hallway. They paused, then turned and walked away. He waited. 5 seconds, 10, 20, silence. Then, his chance. He dropped from the ladder, landing hard. His knees screamed, but he didn't stop. He ran back toward the stairwell. The door stood open. He dove through, slamming it behind him. The footsteps above shifted. Whoever it was had realized the trick. He ran. Every floor blurred past. 6, 5, 4, 3. His legs burned. His flashlight flickered. He hit the second landing when a crash echoed behind him. Metal on concrete. A cry of pain. He didn't turn around. He pushed through the lobby door, sprinted for the exit. Rain hammered the pavement. The wind felt alive. He hit the fob. Headlights blinked through the downpour. His truck roared to life. He was 10 feet from the door when movement cut through the rain. The figure, all black, hooded, face masked, burst from the entryway. Sprinting toward him, he dove into the truck, slammed the door, threw it in gear. Tires screeched. Mud sprayed. The headlights caught the shape behind him for half a second before it vanished into the dark. He didn't look back again until he hit the main road. His hands trembled as he unlocked his phone. Service returned. He called 911. 15 minutes later, police cruisers met him at the gate. They searched the building, the grounds, the fence line. Nothing. But on the stairwell landing, they found something. A handgun. Fully loaded. No serial number. He didn't go back to that site. No one stayed long after that. The cameras were repaired. The door codes changed. But no guard lasted more than a week. Every report said the same thing. Strange noises, static on the cameras, movement in the trees, and silence where there shouldn't be any. By the time the officers cleared the scene, dawn had turned the rain into fog. The parking lot steamed under the weak morning light. He gave his statement twice, once to the local cops, once to his company's field investigator. Both men kept asking the same question in different ways. "Are you sure you saw someone?" He kept his answers short. Yes, hooded, masked, armed. The code worked on the rear door. Power was cut from inside. No one wanted to say it out loud, but their faces gave it away. They didn't believe him. They found no forced entry, no broken locks, no sign of tampering on the generator, no footprints in the mud, only the dangling camera and the gun. That was enough for a police report, but not enough for certainty. They told him he could go home. He didn't. He sat in his truck for almost an hour, staring through the windshield at the building. The fog rolled low over the pavement, thick and slow, swallowing the fence line. Every now and then, a gust of wind would push it aside, revealing the trees beyond, silent, motionless, hiding something he couldn't see. When his phone buzzed, he jumped. It was his supervisor. "You all right?" He hesitated. "Not sure. Take a couple days off. HR will call you. We'll review the footage." He wanted to laugh. There was no footage. The power cut killed every recording. He started the truck and drove until the forest thinned and cell towers reappeared. The sun broke through clouds in streaks, turning the wet road silver. But he couldn't shake the feeling that he'd left something unfinished. By Monday, he tried to move on. Routine helped. He took morning shifts again, kept busy, ignored the questions from other guards. Most of them had already heard rumors. Some said it was a break-in. Others said he imagined it. A few whispered something stranger, that whatever he saw wasn't human. He ignored all of it. Until the email came. Subject, Access Anomaly, Site 47B. The message was automated, sent to all authorized personnel. It listed an after-hours entry from the rear keypad. Saturday, 1:57 a.m., the exact time he'd seen the code unlock. He read it twice. The entry log matched the incident report. But at the bottom, under User ID, the space was blank. He printed it out, took it straight to his supervisor's office. The man read it, frowned, and sighed. "That can't be right. Must be a database glitch." He shook his head. "No, it's the same time. The same door." "I know," the supervisor said. "But there's no way to trace a blank ID. The system's supposed to reject empty fields." He leaned closer. "Unless someone cleared it." The supervisor didn't answer. That night, he couldn't sleep. Every time thunder rolled in the distance, his chest tightened. He replayed the stairwell chase over and over. The footsteps, the clang of his gun, the scream when the intruder fell. Had he imagined the scream? Or had it been real? He needed to know. So he did something he knew he shouldn't. He went back. Tuesday evening. No rain this time. The air was dry and still. The parking lot was empty, the gate half open for maintenance crews. He flashed his ID, signed himself in as part of a follow-up inspection. The clerk at dispatch didn't ask questions. Inside, the air smelled the same, like dust and concrete. The hum of power filled the hallways again. Everything was lit, every camera restored. He started with the stairwell. Each step echoed the same way it had before. Same acoustics, same cold draft. But now the walls looked clean. The dark smear from before, gone. He stopped at the landing where the gun had been found. A small patch of concrete showed fresh repair marks. Someone had filled a crack. Maybe that was all it was, or maybe that was where blood had been. He kept moving. At the top floor, he stepped into the control room. The monitors glowed in a wall of static and color. The new rear camera showed the fence intact, the trees swaying under calm skies. He watched for a long time, waiting for movement. Nothing. He leaned back in the chair, exhaled. For the first time in days, the building felt normal. Then a flicker. The rear camera blinked once, twice. Feed lost. He stared at the monitor. Frozen. The timestamp stopped at 9:17 p.m., the same camera, the same angle. He stood slowly, turned toward the window, and reached for the blinds. Lightning flashed far in the distance, a dry strike against a clear horizon, and there it was again, a shape between the trees, still, waiting. His body went rigid. The light faded, and the figure vanished into darkness. He didn't move. He couldn't. He just stood there, breathing hard, the room silent except for the low hum of electronics. The monitor came back on. The feed was fine. Nothing there. He sat down slowly. His hands were shaking. He reached for the radio, then stopped. What would he say? I saw a shadow? He checked the access log. No entries. All doors secure. He told himself to leave. Walk out. Call it a night, but part of him needed proof. Something real. He grabbed his flashlight and headed down the stairwell again. The air grew colder with each floor. By the time he reached the lobby, his breath fogged in front of him. He aimed the light at the rear exit door, the same one from before. The keypad glowed faintly, waiting for input. He stepped closer. The glass of the exit reflected his beam. Behind him, faintly, he saw his own outline. Then another, a second silhouette, taller, broader, standing just behind him. He spun around, light cutting through empty space. No one. The beam shook in his hand. He turned back and the keypad lit green, unlocked. A soft click echoed as the bolt released. He froze. Every instinct told him to back away. The door opened 2 inches, just enough for a draft to slip through. He raised his gun, aimed at the gap, voice low. Show yourself. Nothing. No sound. No movement. He stepped forward, 1 foot. Then another. He kicked the door open. The night air hit him like ice. Outside, empty lot. Fence line still, trees motionless. He stepped past the threshold, flashlight sweeping the asphalt. Rainwater from days ago still pooled near the drain. The light caught something small beside it. A footprint, bare, pressed deep into the wet concrete. He followed it with his light. There was another, then another, leading away from the building toward the tree line. The print stopped halfway to the fence. No drag marks, no turn, no end. Just vanished. His radio crackled suddenly. Control to 4B, status check. He jumped at the sound, hand tight on the mic. 4B all good. Minor door fault. Resetting now. His own voice sounded strange, distant, calm, like someone else was speaking. He took one last look at the trees, then turned back to the door. The keypad light had gone dark again. When he stepped inside, the air felt warmer, heavier. The door shut behind him with a low click. He didn't log the incident, didn't tell a soul, but when the next storm rolled in that weekend, the building's night guard quit before midnight. No explanation. Just dropped his badge on the desk and walked out. The next weekend, the company brought in 2 new guards for the overnight rotation. Fresh hires. Neither lasted more than 3 days. One refused to finish his first shift. The other turned in his gear before sunrise, muttering that something moved in the stairwell. He told himself not to care. He'd already decided to stay on daytime hours. He'd made it clear, no more overnights. But every time he clocked in, every time he passed the access log, every time the rear camera feed flickered on the monitor, that night came back. The storm. The footsteps. The scream. The blank ID. He started to dream about the building, not the rooms or the hallways, but the sound of it. The creak of metal under weight. The soft hum of lights before they fail. The echo of running feet fading into dark. Each morning, he woke drenched in sweat, convinced someone was standing in the corner of the room. Then, on a Friday, the company sent a notice. Power audit scheduled at Site 47B, 2300 hours. Technician requires escort. He stared at it for a long time. The request came from management. No other senior guards were available. He was next in line. He could have refused. Should have refused. But something in him, pride, curiosity, unfinished fear, made him say yes. The tech arrived late. Young, distracted, face buried in a checklist. He didn't ask questions about the site. He just followed as they entered through the front. The storm had returned again, rolling clouds over the forest, rain sweeping across the lot. Inside, the air carried that same still weight. No echo, no life. The lights buzzed overhead, flickering now and then, as if the building recognized him. The technician started with the main electrical panel. Every test came back normal. No outages, no surge. Just clean numbers. Looks good, the tech said, tapping the clipboard. Whatever caused that blackout last week isn't showing up in the logs. He wanted to believe that. But his eyes drifted to the rear monitor, the fence line, the trees. Static blinked once, then cleared. The technician followed his gaze. Camera trouble? Just the storm, he said. But his voice didn't sound steady. They moved down to the generator room. The air grew warmer with each floor. The walls seemed to hum faintly, like the building was breathing through its wires. When they reached the basement, the lights flickered again. Probably a surge, the tech said. He crouched by the generator, pulling off a panel. Shouldn't take long. He nodded and took a few steps back, scanning the space. The basement was wide, lined with storage racks and conduit pipes. Shadows clung to the corners, too thick for the single overhead bulb to reach. He checked the door. Locked behind them. Standard safety. The tech hummed quietly, tightening bolts. You've worked here long? Long enough, the man smiled faintly. Weird place. Middle of nowhere, he didn't answer. His eyes had caught something across the room, a patch of wall that looked wrong. Damp, darker than the rest. He raised his flashlight. The beam caught the spot, a handprint, bare, smudged against the concrete. The tech noticed his silence. Something up? He didn't move the light. The print was fresh. The tech stood slowly, following the beam. That's not from me. Stay behind me, he said. His hand went to the holster. The generator hummed. The lights above dimmed. Then the keypad by the door beeped. Someone outside was entering a code. He froze. The beep repeated, 4 times. Then a soft click. The bolt unlocked. The door opened 3 inches. Rain-scented air drifted in. He aimed his light at the gap. The beam caught motion. A shoulder, a sleeve, a shadow crossing the threshold. Stop, he ordered. Show your hands. Nothing. The door pushed open wider, slow, deliberate. He took a step forward, gun raised. The technician whispered, Man, what is that? The light shook in his hand. The figure stepped into view, hooded, drenched, face hidden. Stop, he barked again. Identify yourself. The thing tilted its head. No voice, no movement. Just that slow turn like it was listening. The tech backed up fast, nearly tripping over the toolbox. Then the lights went out. Everything. Darkness swallowed them whole. The generator still hummed, but no power reached the bulbs. Only the faint green blink of the keypad remained. He fired the light back on, beam cutting through the dark. But the space ahead was empty. The doorway stood open. Rain blew in through the gap. He stepped forward, flashlight sweeping side to side. Nothing. No tracks. No shadow. Then he heard it, a single step behind him. He spun around. The tech was gone. Hey! He shouted, voice echoing through the dark. No response. He moved fast, light darting across walls and machinery. The space felt wrong, deeper than before, longer, the angles distorted. He turned a corner that hadn't existed moments ago. The concrete stretched on, endless, lined with doors that didn't lead anywhere, each one identical. Each one closed. His breath quickened. The air was thicker here, almost damp enough to taste. He picked a door and pulled. Locked. Another. Locked. A third. Open. Inside. Empty shelves. Dust. Then a noise. Faint. Metallic. Echoed from far behind him. He turned back. The open door was now closed. He stepped toward it slowly. every sense screaming at him to stop. The handle turned by itself. Click. He backed away. Fast. His radio buzzed, static at first, then a voice breaking through. Unit 4B, come in. Are you inside the site? He grabbed the mic. Yes, basement level. Possible intruder. Technician missing? Copy. Stay put. Patrol en route. The words barely finished before the radio cut dead. He ran. The halls blurred past. The layout twisted. Corners where there should be straight paths. Doors where there used to be walls. The generator hum followed him, louder now, rising into a mechanical growl. He burst through the stairwell door and climbed, taking the steps 2 at a time. His light flickered, cutting in and out. Shadows flashed across the walls, shapes that didn't match his movement. When he reached the lobby, the glass doors were already open. Rain swept in, pooling across the floor. He stopped just short of the threshold. Something was standing in the parking lot. Same figure, same hood, still as stone. Lightning cracked, lighting up the trees behind it. It didn't move. He aimed the light, shouting over the storm. "Stay right there!" No response. He blinked, and it was gone, vanished between flashes. The wind howled through the open door. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. Silence. Then breathing, slow, steady, familiar. The line went dead. He stared at the screen. No call logged. No number. Just static fading from the speaker. Outside, the fog rolled in again, thicker than before. It swallowed the fence, the trees, the road. He stepped back inside, locked the doors, and didn't move until sunrise. When backup arrived, they found no one else. The technician's car still sat in the lot, his clipboard on the floor, his tools untouched. The building was empty, but the rear camera, the one facing the fence, captured something just before dawn. A single frame, a figure standing at the edge of the trees. One hand pressed against the wire, and next to it, another shape. Taller, watching from deeper in the dark. The timestamp glitched, looping the same second over and over, as if the camera couldn't bear to record what came next. He left the company 2 weeks later. Moved out of state, changed numbers. Never took another overnight post again, but sometimes, when thunder breaks at 2 a.m., he still wakes up, heart racing, hands shaking, certain that somewhere, behind a locked door, a keypad light is blinking green. Story 2, wet footprints in the lobby. He liked quiet nights. Empty lobby, blue screens, the gentle hum of the building when everyone else had gone home. His post was a medium-sized corporate office in New Jersey. He knew every camera angle by heart. Elevators, hallways, stairwells, the underground garage. At 12:07 a.m., movement ticked across the lower garage feed. A figure moved between parked cars, slow, uncertain, not heading to a vehicle. Not walking to an exit. He leaned closer. Long coat, dark, no bag, no uniform. No one should be in that garage at this hour. Only staff with 24-hour access. He checked the access log. No badge swipes for the last 90 minutes. Cleaning crew had left before 10. IT staff signed out at 11. He called his supervisor on the radio and gave the basics. Male, long coat, lower garage. No ID on record. Hold position. Watch the cameras, the supervisor said. His gut said move. He took the elevator down. The ride felt slow. Each floor ticked past with a hollow sound in the shaft. The doors opened to concrete and still air. He stepped out with his flashlight low and calm. Security, he called. Identify yourself, silence answered. No shuffle, no breath. He swept the beam across rows of cars. Between bumpers. Under pillars, corners, stairs, nothing. He checked the far stairwell door. Secure. He checked the pedestrian gate. Locked. He listened. The building gave him only distant ventilation and the soft ring of a drip near the ramp. He rode back to the lobby, trying to stay rational. Camera latency, a glitch, an old frame jumping forward. He sat, exhaled, and looked up at the wall of feeds. The man stood on the screen again. Same spot, same posture, facing the camera now, as if he knew the lens. As if he had been waiting for the guard to return to the desk, his mouth went dry. He radioed in the update. Subject still on lower garage feed? I just cleared that level. No contact. Copy. Do not approach again. Off-site patrol en route, the supervisor said. He watched the figure move. Slow. Measured. The man walked toward the far corner of the garage where the stairwell door stood out of frame. He paused, turned his head like he was checking for someone behind him. Then he slipped out of view. The guard switched to the stairwell camera. Empty. He cycled through lobby cameras. Empty. He checked the elevator lobby on each floor. Nothing. He scanned the garage feed again. The spot where the man had stood was clear. One car door reflected light from a far fixture. A dust mote floated in the beam. Nothing else. His eyes burned. He blinked hard. He wrote a line in the log to keep his hands busy. 12:17 a.m., suspicious person on lower garage feed. Visual lost. Patrol requested. He set the pen down and listened. The elevator dinged behind him. He turned fast. The doors slid open. No one inside. Just the empty car and the soft glow of the panel. He did not walk closer. He looked down instead. The polished lobby tile held a new pattern. A line of wet prints stepped out of the elevator car and pointed into the lobby. Bare feet, toes, heel. Water glistening in the overhead lights. He did not touch the radio right away. He counted the prints. 6, then 8, then 10. The last one faded near the center of the lobby. No smear, no direction change. Just gone, he whispered to the quiet room. Who are you? The building answered with a single flicker of lights. Once, then steady again. He forced his voice steady and called the supervisor. Wet footprints in the lobby. Bare feet from the elevator. No person visible, no sound. Patrol ETA. 2 minutes. The reply came. Hold in place. Do not pursue. He placed his hands flat on the desk. He took one slow breath, then another. He ran a quick check of the access control panel. No doors opened in the last 5 minutes. No badge used, no alarm. The system said the building was sealed. The floor under his chair told a different story. Something soaked and human had just crossed it. He looked back at the elevator. The prints told a clean line out. None went in. He stepped out from behind the desk and stopped at the first print. Real water, shallow edge, no streaking. Whoever made them did not run. They walked with balance and purpose. He followed the line with his eyes to the point where they faded. They ended in clean tile. No exit door nearby. No corridor turning point. The air felt colder. The lobby suddenly looked too large. He listened again and caught a faint sound up high. Not the usual hum. A soft knock. Once, from the 5th floor, he took the elevator up against orders. He pressed 5. The car moved with that slow hydraulic sway he never noticed during the day. The doors opened to a long corridor. Minimal night lighting. The emergency exit sign threw a thin red wash across the far wall. He kept his flashlight low. He called out, "Security. If someone needs help, speak now." No answer. He checked door by door, reading each plaque. Accounting, HR, legal, conference room, all locked. Halfway down the corridor, one door sat slightly open. He stopped outside the crack. He angled the light through. Reception desk. 2 chairs. A computer monitor asleep. Nothing moved. He pushed the door open with his foot. The hinge gave a soft complaint. The room smelled normal. Cleaning solution. Printer paper. Dry carpet. He took 2 steps inside and saw the detail that set his nerves off again. A single drop of water on the laminate near the chair leg. Not a leak from above, a fresh bead that trembled in the air from his movement. He turned back into the hall. Footsteps. Behind him. Wet. Not fast. Close enough to hear the skin hit the tile and lift away. He swung the light down the corridor. At the far end, a figure stood in the dark. Tall, long coat that looked heavy with moisture. The face was shadowed by the angle of the ceiling light. The figure did not sway. It did not tense. It only tilted its head a fraction, as if listening. His body decided before his brain did. He ran. He cut left at the corner and hit the stairwell door hard. It banged against the stopper and tried to bounce back. He caught it with a shoulder and slid through. He took the steps fast, 3 at a time, hands skimming the rail to keep balance. The stairwell repeated every sound. His boots, his breath. Another set of steps that were not his. He did not look back until the second landing. He risked it. Nothing on the stairs. He pushed through the door to the third floor and crossed to the opposite stairwell to break the rhythm. He dropped to the second. He pushed out into the lobby. The prints on the tile were gone. The floor had dried or had been dry all along. He felt the heavy pull to check the camera wall. He forced himself to do it. Lower garage feed showed a blank patch of static that lasted 2 seconds, then returned. Elevator lobby showed an empty car and a steady panel light. Fifth floor corridor showed no one at the far end. The ajar office door had swung shut. He spoke into the radio. Subject sighted on 5. Long coat, no face seen. Pursuit not advised. I am in the lobby. Awaiting patrol. Headlights cut a soft glare across the front glass. Off-site patrol pulled up and came in fast. 2 guards. Good posture. Hands free. They moved with him to the 5th floor and cleared the corridor room by room. All locked now. No water, no open door. No trace. They worked the garage next. Every row, every pillar, no one. They checked pedestrian exits. All secure. They opened utility closets, dust, filters, mop buckets. Nothing human. The 3 men returned to the lobby. The patrol lead asked him to replay the footage. They scanned each feed from 12 SAS to 1240. The garage clip where the figure first appeared showed motion. Then the file jumped and smudged for a few seconds. The patrol lead swore under his breath. The 5th floor clip where the door had been ajar went dark for 3 seconds, then came back. The elevator lobby showed the car doors open at 12:19 and close at 12:19. No one inside on either frame. The wet footprints did not exist on video. Corrupted, the lead said. Maybe power noise. Maybe intentional. He did not sound convinced. They filed the report. 2 signatures. 1 witness statement. The patrol left. He sat alone again in the blue wash of screens. He placed his palms on the desk to feel something solid. He watched the feeds another hour without blinking. Nothing returned. The building slowed to that deep night stillness that looks innocent on paper. He lasted 3 more weeks at that post. He stopped riding elevators alone after midnight. He walked stairwells with his light already on. He kept the radio clipped higher on his shoulder so he could hear the hiss of a live channel. He pretended the tension would fade. It did not. He gave notice and left. He told people he wanted a busier site. That was true. It was not the whole truth. He tried to put distance between himself and that lobby. New job, different city, different tower with real foot traffic. Weekdays, daylight. He slept better at first. He walked past other garage entrances without thinking. He took elevators with a coffee in his hand and music in one earbud. The human noise dulled the edge. 2 months later, he met a former co-worker for lunch. They swapped stories. He avoided the New Jersey site on purpose. His co-worker did not. You worked the midnight there, right? The co-worker asked. Yeah. You ever see anything weird with the cameras? He did not answer for a beat. Why? New guy on night says some feeds jump when he does patrol. Not always the same ones. He pulled a clip for the manager and the file was fine. Then it wasn't. Then it was again. He says the garage feels wrong. I told him to get more sleep. He smiled without humor. Tell him to trust his gut. That night, the co-worker texted him a photo. A frame grabbed from a phone pointed at a lobby monitor. The picture quality was poor, grain and glare. The image showed a single wet footprint on tile. Toes forward, heel heavy, no one else in the frame. Timestamp cropped. He did not reply. He started noticing small things again. In public garages, the corner cameras seemed to swing a fraction when he looked away. In office buildings, elevator doors opened 1 second longer than they needed to. He told himself it was hypervigilance, learned behavior. He had spent too many nights listening for small sounds, and now his brain hunted for them in daylight. 2 weeks later, he dreamed of the 5th floor. Not the chase, not the figure. Only the sound of the footsteps. Wet, even, heavy without hurry. In the dream, he did not run. He waited in the corridor for the figure to walk close enough to touch. He woke up with his hands clenched and the taste of metal in his mouth from biting his tongue. He bought a white noise machine for sleep. He set it to a steady rush to drown out apartment creaks. It helped. Then the machine popped once at 2:13 a.m. and fell silent. He stared into the dark and waited to hear a foot on the floor. None came. He turned the machine back on and told himself to stop feeding the fear. One morning, he opened his email and found a message from facilities at the old site. He was still on a general list because of a clerical miss. The subject line read, "Lobby Water Intrusion Test." He clicked it by habit. The body said a vendor would pour a measured amount of water in the elevator car to test threshold seals and floor drains after complaints about moisture transfer. He closed the email and blinked hard until the wall came back into focus. The test made sense. There was a rational cause. He wanted that to be the end of it. That evening, he watched a news clip about a man detained in a different city for trespassing in office garages. The station showed blurry video of a person in a dark coat moving behind a row of cars. The reporter said the suspect had no shoes when caught. The police chalked it up to substance use. He listened to the sound design of the piece and realized the editors had laid in a faint wet step to punch the story. He turned the volume down. He kept one rule from then on. If an elevator in an empty lobby opens without a call, he does not step in. He waits. He watches the floor light. He checks the camera if one is public. If nothing changes, he takes the stairs. He never filed a new report about the wet footprints. He never sent the photo to anyone in management. He did one small thing instead. He added a line to his personal checklist when training new guards. If you see something that makes no sense, do not argue with it. Do not prove a point. Control the ground you stand on. Call for a second set of eyes. Keep the exit behind you clear. Trust what the room is telling you. He still passes office buildings late at night. It is hard to unlearn the habit of scanning glass. If he sees a lobby far away through a pane, he looks for shape and motion. He expects nothing. He reminds himself that most nights are only boring. That is why the job exists. He still believes that, but once in a while, a quiet building will throw back a reflection he does not like. A light will flicker and hold. An elevator will pause just a fraction too long before closing. His chest will tighten and his palms will warm, and he will feel the urge to move without knowing why. On those nights, he looks down at the ground first. Not at the screens, not at the doors. At the tile. At the simple, stubborn evidence a human body leaves when it crosses a floor. If the tile is dry, he breathes. If it is not, he leaves. He does not wait for proof. He knows how proof behaves in buildings like that. It blinks off the feed. It dries on the air. It walks ahead of you as if you will always be a step behind. He does not try to catch it anymore. He lets it go. He makes it home. He sleeps. Story 3. The elevator that wouldn't stop. He started the night shift 3 months ago. A quiet corporate tower in the heart of downtown. 12 floors, glass walls, polished marble that echoed every step. He liked the silence, the way sound carried, the sense of control. Most nights, the cameras showed nothing but empty halls and still elevators. Until that Tuesday. It was 2:14 a.m. when the first alarm pinged on his screen. Elevator movement detected. No call registered, he frowned. The building was empty. No staff, no cleaners. He checked the feed. The elevator was rising. Floor 1, 2, 3. No one inside. He switched to the internal camera. Nothing. Door shut. Lights steady. Yet the car kept moving. He radioed dispatch. Control to Site 12C, elevator moving without request. Could be a mechanical test? Dispatch replied, no test scheduled. Stay on feed. The elevator reached floor 12. The doors opened to blackness. The floor lights were off. No one stepped out. After 5 seconds, the doors closed again. The car started descending. Floor 11, 10, 9. He watched, uneasy. At floor 6, it stopped. The doors slid open again. Still no one. No sound, no motion. But something changed. The camera flickered. Once, twice. The interior lights dimmed for half a second, then stabilized. Then, as if triggered by invisible hands, the elevator started rising again. This time faster. No call, no input, no pattern. He rubbed his temple. Glitch, maybe. He wrote it in the log. Elevator malfunction. Unscheduled movement. But as he looked back, he noticed something on the feed that hadn't been there before. A faint handprint on the mirror inside the car. Smudged. Wet. He went down to check it himself. Standard procedure. He took the service elevator to the basement and crossed the maintenance hall. The main elevator doors stood still, closed, silent. He pressed the call button. Nothing. No light. No sound. He called again. This time, the floor indicator above flickered. The car was moving. Down from 12. The hum grew louder. He stepped back. The doors opened. Empty car. Cold air spilled out. Too cold. Like walking into a freezer. He leaned in slowly, flashlight cutting across polished steel. The mirror glared back. The handprint was there. Clear, distinct, fresh. 5 long fingers, pressed hard enough to smear moisture. He raised his radio. Control, visual on the elevator. Confirm unknown mark inside. Possibly residue, Static hissed back. No response. He tried again. Control, do you copy? The radio popped, then went silent. He stepped inside. The light above flickered again. The air thickened. The doors closed. He hadn't pressed a button. The elevator began to move, slow at first, then faster. No floor lights lit up. The panel stayed dark. His chest tightened. He hit open door. Nothing. Stop! Nothing. The emergency call button clicked uselessly under his thumb. The floor counter blinked nonsense. 3, 9, 0, 7, 11. Then everything went dark. He felt the motion stop. The air turned still. He exhaled, reached for his flashlight and turned it on. The beam hit the mirror. The handprint was gone. In its place, 9 new ones covered the glass, all facing inward. He stumbled back, hand slamming the door panel. It didn't respond. The flashlight flickered. His breath fogged in the air. Then the speaker above crackled. A voice whispered, almost gentle. Going up, the elevator lurched. The panel lit again. 13. There was no 13th floor. He hit the emergency latch, trying to pry the doors. They didn't budge. The elevator stopped. Silence pressed in. He looked at the mirror again. The prints were fading, one by one, as though being wiped from the other side. A thump sounded above him. Metal against metal. Another, heavier this time. Something was on the roof. He pulled his gun, hand trembling. This is security. Identify yourself. No answer. Just another thump. Then dragging. Dust rained down from the ceiling hatch. He backed into the corner, aiming upward. The hatch lock twisted slowly. He fired a warning shot into the air. The sound exploded in the confined space, echoing back like thunder. The dragging stopped. Silence again, then a faint click. The doors opened. Floor 12. He stepped out, breathing hard. The hallway was empty. Lights dim. He could hear faint humming in the walls, mechanical, steady, like a heartbeat. He turned to look back at the elevator. The car stood open, waiting. The floor counter above blinked. 13, then 14, then blank. He backed away. The lights above him dimmed. At the far end of the hall, the second elevator dinged. Its doors slid open. Inside stood a man. Same uniform, same badge, same face. The man smiled faintly and stepped forward. The first guard ran. Down the hall, through the stairwell, into the lobby. He didn't stop until he hit the glass doors and burst into the cold air. Outside, the city looked normal. Traffic lights, street lamps. But behind him, the tower's windows glowed unevenly. Some dark, some bright, some pulsing faintly like eyes. He didn't return for his next shift. A replacement came 2 nights later. He lasted 1 week. The maintenance team eventually sealed Elevator 1. Too many system errors, they said. Too many blank recordings, but the cleaners still talk. Sometimes, late in the night when they walk past the sealed doors, they swear they hear the faint hum of a motor rising floor by floor, and once, one of them left a wet palm on the mirror just to test the story. The next morning, the print was still there, only now there were 10 more beside it.